the government in this instance is not in compliance with legal rules that govern the limitation of rights, particularly for the following reason. When you limit rights, particularly the right to freedom of expression, the right to liberty, I do agree that these are not absolute rights. They can be limited under certain circumstances. But there are certain principles that you need to obey, to comply with. And the first fundamental principle is that uh, you should uh, deprive or you should limit a particular right in accordance with an existing law. This is called the principle of legality. So for you to be able that for you to be able to say that you are limiting a particular right in accordance with a particular law, that law needs to exist. This is the principle of legality. And under criminal law, some refer to it as it's a Latin maxim, but in English it translates to a principle that says that no one can be punished for an offense that is not prohibited with an existing law. In these current circumstances, the law that is being cited by government, particularly that of spreading falsehoods, was outlawed or was ruled to be unconstitutional in 2013 and confirmed in 2014. And as if that was not enough, in another popular case known as the MISA case, the Constitutional Court again confirmed that laws that were declared to be unconstitutional under the old Constitution remains unconstitutional. In other words, they are not part of the laws of Zimbabwe. And I can say without doubt that when the government here is invoking this law, which they know, because they do have legal minds, they do have lawyers, they know that that law doesn't exist under the statutes of Zimbabwe. This is just a government being very unshameful, being very dictatorial and in violation of the right to freedom of expression and the right to liberty.
All right, so in simple terms, what we're saying is that Fadzayi Mahere, Hopewell Chinono and others are being charged with a law that doesn't exist, using a law that doesn't exist.
Precisely. It's their detention right now, the detention of Hopewell, the detention of Honorable Job Wiwaskala, and the detention of Fadzayi Mahere. I suppose she was also being, remanded or is being kept in prison right now. It is unlawful. It's arbitrary because if you even look at some other principles in law, which say the habeas corpus rule, it also allows you to demand, for example, that a person be presented before a court or be released on the basis that their detention is illegal. And the detention can be illegal if it's being done not in terms of an existing law. And there's no law that actually exists that criminalizes or that presents a situation where you say if someone is spreading what you consider to be falsehoods, then that person is committing a crime.
All right, so look, I mean, I can get up in the morning and lie if I want to. I guess this is my right, and if people believe me, that's their choice as well. I suppose it starts to become a question of, are my lies causing harm? Are they causing injury? And even then, there are remedies, aren't there, such as defamation and other civil law remedies that one could apply.
Very, very true, Peter, to what you say. Perhaps to add more of, of a philosophical view on the issue of why the constitutional courts across the globe find it unjustifiable to limit the right to freedom of expression by criminalizing what they call falsehoods. It's primarily because what we consider to be the truth, or what each particular individual considers to be the truth, is subjective in a particular moment, depending on the reality, given to that particular person in that particular moment. So I can tell you with certainty that every individual, every human being in this world, at a particular moment, Peter, you may have been convinced that what you think, what you perceive, what you know is the truth. But upon being given certain facts, then you realize that it's not. So
Yeah.
if you were to criminalize, to say that if someone publishes or shares something that is falsehood, you particularly criminalizing almost everybody in the world. If I'm to come to be specific with the video which you are talking about,
Yeah.
we are talking about a video where you have the mother of the baby in that particular video, and the individuals participating in that video, because this is the primary evidence, shouting that you have killed someone's child. The child is dead. So definitely me as an individual who received that particular video, I have no reason to believe that that is what is transpiring. Even the police of Zimbabwe itself, upon seeing that particular video, they had to give a statement which they said, we need to do further investigation. In other words, you cannot conclude by just seeing that particular video that whatever is being claimed in that video is false. So where you have a government then where people share that particular video out of concern of human rights violations to say this would be unacceptable, for which on the part of the police, they even claim that the violence that was used by the police officer in that particular video, regardless of the child not dying, was actually unacceptable. How else, I may ask, how else would the police of Zimbabwe would have known of that particular incident? Has it been not for people like Hopo, like Fadzayi Mahere, who shared that particular video? So for the police in one breath to say what is happening in this particular video, although we are varying on certain facts, is unacceptable, but then go ahead to criminalize the source from which they got that particular information is totally unacceptable in a democratic society.
With that then discussed, this proposed cybersecurity law, I mean, that does now seem unconstitutional, and that it won't stand constitutional muster.
If I understand your question correctly, let me say, because I've had other people suggesting the idea that even Hopo himself, that you need to go to the Constitutional Court and challenge the constitutionality of this law. My response to that has been first to say that there is no law to challenge because the law doesn't exist to begin with. What he will be asserting in the Constitutional Court is that he has been arbitrarily deprived of his right to liberty and his right to freedom of expression on the basis of a law that doesn't exist. So if you are to look at other laws that may be passed by the government in trying to maybe reach at the same end, again, the reasoning which was raised by the Constitutional Court prior is where the government will consider the question when you say, or the Constitutional Court, I mean, is the law which the government proposing justifiable in a democratic society, and is it meant to pursue a legitimate aim? And for the reason that I've already highlighted to you, Peter, there is no legitimate aim. It's unjustifiable and it's disproportionate. For you to say you're criminalizing publication of falsehoods, as I said, truth and reality is there's no universal truth. What you know at a particular moment, what you say at a particular moment depends on what you or your own reality. And this is an issue that is agreeable across the globe. It's not a Zimbabwean issue. Across the globe, everyone do agree that you can't be criminalizing people for that. And what we are having, please allow me to say this, Peter, what we are having in Zimbabwe, where you have a government that is not ashamed to charge and deprive people of their right to liberty, expose them to COVID in dirty prisons there, on the basis of a law that exists, you are having a crooked government that no longer cares what other people think. They are no longer ashamed to do even the worst of worst. And in as much as we may have, for example, the current fallout between, the ANC and the ZANU-PF of what is going on, I think it is time, for example, for other neighboring countries, particularly South Africa, because of their role, their chairmanship in the SADC, to actually be more stern with the government of Zimbabwe. Because the situation of many citizens right now, because of the COVID situation, people cannot go to protest in the street to ascertain their rights. So all we can do right now is tweet and complain about these issues. Perhaps diplomatic pressure, especially that is clear to say what the government of Zimbabwe is doing is not right, is in violation of human rights, is really needed at this particular point in time.